this video, we're going to get ready to do the front brake pad on the 2003 Nissan Frontier D22. That's with a V6 engine, 4x4. And what we're going to be replacing is the brake pads. And during replacing the brake pads, we might find other stuff or other parts that may cause issues down the road. So let me go and bring the vehicle down from the top down here, set it up on the jack stand, take off the wheel, and take an inspection of the front brakes, which we already know is at its minimum. I'm going to show you how you're going to know that. But first of all, this is what we want to replace. So you see these are the two brake pad. It's not completely worn out because you can still see the line in the middle, and you still have friction surface here. At this point is where you want to consider buying new brake pads, getting ready to change them. On the back of the brake pad, there are some metal shims. This little metal, you always want this with the metal on the outside. See, with this metal here. What happens is when this friction surface is worn down to the metal plate, before it gets to the metal plate, before the rotor strikes the metal plate and become destroyed, this little metal here will scrape onto the rotor, making a noise for the driver to replace the brake pad. So you always want this one. Sometimes you can have it, you're not able to fit it on the outside because of the way the caliper is. You can see this one was removed from the inside because the piston cup are imprinted on the back of the brake pad, and this is the clamp end of the caliper on the outside of the brake pad. So this one will have to get replaced on the inside, which means you will not be able to see this sensor from the front of the wheel when standing beside the vehicle. So let's get ready to replacing these brake pads. That's the main part. But we want to replace. See that, huh? So this is what I truly want to replace, is this whole complete bracket. This is called a caliper brake pad abutment bracket, and it has a slider pin in there to allow the caliper to move, to travel. When the brake is stepped on, the caliper squeezes the pad, and these two slider bolts is what offer a movement on the brake pad, so it could reset itself. Now when the brake is applied, the force, the stopping force of the vehicle is applied to this brake pad, which is wedged into this bracket, and this bracket is bolted to the spindle. So the brake pad does not see any friction, or I should say fatigue or torque or twisting from the pad when the brake pedal is applied, because these slider pins are what holds the caliper in position. Now another thing with this caliper, when you're driving and you hit potholes and bumps in the road, the caliper is going to rattle in this bracket, and that's what's going on here. You see, this is a new one, and the pin is shaking inside of the hole. This is not a good sign for me, because the old caliper bracket with the pin is doing the same thing. It's become contaminated, and the pin is seasoning in there. That is why I purchased this new abutment bracket with new pads and pins and everything. These pins come out of here. It has to be lubed with a copper. Some people like to use a dielectric grease, but it's good to put like a copper paste on there. Place it back in there. So here's a complete unit. And this is the caliper with the abutment bracket and the brake pad all in one. And when you place these calipers on, you have to make sure this bleeder hole fitting is at the highest point of the caliper. So you want your caliper to be bolted on like this, not like this. You don't want this bleeder at the bottom. You want this bleeder at the top. And some manufacturer, they're going to show you this is the left caliper. On the bracket, they're going to tell you this is the top. But it's impossible to really this to be the top. The top is up here. So they put T here. Don't know what that T is for, but the L is for left. And here we have one that says R, which is right. So you can't put this like this. It has to go like this. This always has to be at the top. You see it says T here for the top. I don't know if you're able to see that with the camera. This is alive. You see the T on the top. You see the R. So the T on the top, yeah. You see what the R is, right? This is the one I had before, right? It says L here, and it says T for the top, but that's not the top. This is the top, because the bleeder has to be on the top, like I just showed you. Now it's also very important that you have this rubber, see this little rubber plug that covers the bleeder? Very important. When you're driving, the amount of dirt, sand, water that comes in contact with this stuff will fill in all those little cracks and crevices and leach into the part, leading to corrosion, blockage of passageways. So you have to get that covered. Some people like to spray those calipers with a high temperature paint if you have nice wheels and stuff like that. So let me go down, bring the vehicle down here. now we have the vehicle down where we want to work on it. Shouldn't be on a tilt like that, but still, the rear wheel is locked up with the transmission in park, so it will not be an issue with the vehicle rolling forward on the jack, even though we're jacking it on the sand, which is not advisable. You should always be working on your vehicle with a concrete floor. Always. Never dirt, sand, or loose soil. But since I have years of experience in this work, I know all the chaos and confusion that comes with accidents. Now, another thing, you might think you're doing good showing people what to do to have a better quality of life, but believe me, there are some people who still hate you and will still want to play vendetta with you, or you know what people are, animals. So that's why I cover the front plate on the vehicle. You have to protect in the public world. Now let's take a look at the brake, how we know the brake pedal, brake pad is worn out. You see this right here, there's a fluid in here, the brake fluid. And when you take a look at the side of the reservoir, you're going to see it says max at the top and min for minimum at the bottom and maximum for the top. Well, when you fill this brake fluid to the max and you have brand new front brake pad, brand new brake shoe in the rear, you're going to drive for approximately, I don't know, 20,000 miles. When you see this fluid drop to the minimum mark, that is a sign that the rear brakes might need adjustment from its manual adjuster behind the backing plate. We'll show you that later if we could get to that. And also, the brake pad is almost at its halfway point or completely finished when you see this fluid is in here. So when you go to the station, you're gonna ask the guy, man, how come my brake fluid is so low? He's gonna say, oh, you just need brake fluid. And he's gonna open here. He's gonna sell you a bottle of brake fluid. He's gonna fill it up, and you're gonna continue to drive. And as you continue to drive, the brake pad from stop and go is gonna continue to wear and tear. As that brake fluid gets low, minimum position, this little piece here on the brake pad, this friction surface here, is going to worn out, and then this metal here dragging against the rotor, its friction surface. When that happened, the brake pad, your brake job become more expensive because now you're going to have to buy brake pad, you're going to have to buy rotor disc, and you're going to have to flush the brake fluid. You always want to have new brake fluid inside the master cylinder. So every time you change the brakes, you will have to open the bleeder valve like I just showed you on the caliper and have someone pump the brake pedal so you can get all that contaminated brake fluid out of the system and then refill it with new brake fluid. Now what I want to do is I want to set the camera because I want to work on this side. Let's take a look at getting the wheel off. Most important part. Now what we're going to do here, we're going to use this bottle jack. It has a valve here that you will be using. You have to turn it real tight with the handle. Then we want to place this on the 2x4 that we have stacked here. And this part is going to be on the 2x4. This here is going to go against the frame rail. Must go against the frame rail. So we're going to sit the jack down, adjust this all the way up till it kisses the frame rail. Then we start jacking up. Before the vehicle can be jacked up, the lug nut has to be released. Because if you jack the vehicle up, it will become nearly impossible or difficult to get the lug nut off. Since we're in the process of removing the lug nut on this specific vehicle with aluminum alloy rim, I like to torque the lug nuts to 90 foot-pounds of torque. That is also what the factory recommends. once the wheels get off, you're going to need to place it under the vehicle somewhere for security purpose. This guy don't really do anything until something happens in the form of an accident. If the vehicle should fall, this wheel, you still want it to support the vehicle. So let's take it off like this. Send it under there. Now, you want to start working on the vehicle yet. That's not safe. The way the jack is, that's not safe. It's not safe at all. What we have to do is we have to get another support under this vehicle, placing the weight of the suspension onto that support, because inspection of the ball joints, the lower and upper control arm bushings, the tie rod, at the same time you're doing this brake job. So the first thing you want to do is to spin the rotor by hand. By spinning the rotor by hand is going to let us know it's not locking up on the brake because of the slider pin. Sometimes the caliper piston themselves will become seized and frozen and locks the brake pad against the rotor. So if the rotor cannot do this, that means when you're driving the vehicle and you come to a stop sign, when you get off the gas to follow through on that green light from the stop sign, the car will not move because the brakes now is holding the pad. Even though the brake pedal is released, remember the caliper is stuck or the slider pin is stuck. So now you have to give it a little gas, a little acceleration to break the rotor away from the pad to continue driving. As you continue driving, the brake pad is still hung up on the rotor, dragging along as you're driving, and this is increasing the friction, the wear and tear to the brake pad. So you need to make sure your hub rotor does this. Then you take off the wheel. You don't want to do anything here yet. This is the first thing you want to go to. You just spin the hub. When you're going to be spinning the hub, you're also going to know if the bearings are good. So you see you're doing 2 inspections with 1 action. So when we spin this bearing, it's in perfect condition. And this bearing here is 210,000 miles. This is not a hub bearing, it's a spindle bearing. I have other videos that discuss this. Now let's continue in supporting this vehicle like the way I, as an expert, would. Now we want to take a flat piece of wood like that, see, approximately 6 inches wide and 1 inch in thickness. I want to place that under there. This is something you're going to need if you plan on owning a car. If you don't have jack stands and you got jack, you're incomplete. You need to get something like this. It has an adjuster. It's 3 tons. It's the safest way for supporting the vehicle. So you place this down here. Now the vehicle is supported better than it was on the front wheel. It cannot roll, it cannot move because that jack stand is like a post, it's not a wheel. So you don't have to worry about the vehicle rolling forward, even though it's on an incline, right? Now I don't want to get two screwdrivers like this. It look like a dagger. One up in here, rotate the rotor, place one up here. See how the one on the top reaches the bottom? And I just want to grab the two spikes, moving the bottom in and out to see if I have any movement in the hub in relation to its bearing. So we have none of that movement, which means this is in an excellent condition. The hub bearing, the upper ball joint, and the lower ball joint. Since you have the support on the jack stand, on the lower control arm, the suspension will flex and maintain the position as it normally would when it's driving. So this is the best time to check and see ball joints. This is the only way you can tell if the ball joints are good. You have to move up and down like this, in and out, in and out. And you need this bar to give you leverage. So you have a little movement from the top ball joint. We'll take a look at that and we'll finish the brake to identify exactly where it's coming from. If it's coming from the lower or the top. The lower ball joints are moved. The top is also a move. It's approximately 8 years now since those ball joints are in there, and 80,000 miles of all-terrain mileage. So let's get to replacing the brake pad. Now what I want to do here next is turn the wheel. This is going to allow you easy into the caliper bolt, the slider bolt, and if you have to remove the abutment bracket, the bolts, the 17mm bolt will also be easily accessible. So here's another thing with these slider pins. Never put petroleum grease in them. You will destroy the rubbers and the insulator inside on the pin. I'm going to show you when I take it out of it. Now before we can remove the caliper, there's one thing that has to be done. You have to get the C-clamp and compress the piston in the caliper where it is. you're going to be doing this part, be careful. You have to make sure you remove the cap, the cover from the master cylinder. Failure to do so will cause the brake fluid to build up the pressure in the system and to damage one of the seals. So you need to make sure you get that cap off the master cylinder. Now, when using the C-clamp, you want to make sure you use it slowly. You don't want to speed it in. You don't want to use a gun on it, because doing so, you could rupture the seal on the piston inside the caliper. So you're going to move this slowly, slowly, and slowly. Now you have to check your brake fluid in the master cylinder, because that will most likely become overflow and spill onto the paint or metal surface that has paint, and that brake fluid will remove the paint. So let's get to doing this. So since this is a dual piston caliper, I have to switch the upper piston. You have to work the piston one by one. Even though you have one brake pad supported on both pistons, you still have to switch the clamp around. You don't have to, if you don't want to damage the piston inside the caliper. It will be wide. You do it the way that I'm showing you right now. Okay, now we can release the caliper. And that is a 14mm bolt on a combination wrench. Place it on like that. If you don't have the strength to pull it, simply get another wrench like this, shackle it to the other end, made easy. So it's not hard work if you got the smart behind you. So what's going to end up happening when you're turning the 14, the complete slider pin is going to spin. The bolt is not going to release. So you're going to have to use a 17 like this for holding the slider pin, the 14, for turning the bolt off. Once you get this caliper off, don't let it hang down like that on the hose. It's going to damage the hose. Just place it up there. And the 2 bolts for the slider pin, just simply replace them. So Let me show you what's going on with the slider pin. See when you hold it like this? Hear that noise? So that's the noise you're going to hear when you're driving the vehicle and you encounter potholes and speed bump. When the suspension jumps, the caliper is going to rattle because of these bolts. And you're going to ask yourself, what's wrong? Is it the ball joint? Is it the axle? Is it the bearing? Is it the shock? Is it the bushing? No. That's it right there. So I purchased a new one, right? Let me show you the new one. Now, may I remind you, I do not need a new caliper. I do not need an abutment bracket, but I still went and purchased one because I see it was sold complete with brad, abutment bracket, brand new caliper. So I took the caliper apart because I'm going to reuse my factory OEM Nissan caliper that has 210,000 miles on it. I don't trust those aftermarket garbage. This is the slide, the bracket that I took off from that caliper. Same fucking thing. Who makes this? The American or the American Chinese? Now, I don't even want to take this abutment bracket off because I could see same fucking thing. Made in the USA, is it? By the Chinese cocksuckers. I don't give a think it's joke doing this kind of work and you're sending us these fraud endless fucking dollar for. Then we gotta pay shipping for it. We gotta pay tax for it. We gotta find somebody to put it in. What do you people think you're doing in them factories, huh? I like to see when you get bloating the fuck up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take this slider pin out from this one. I'm gonna clean that hole up. I'm gonna take this one out too. You see how dirty you are? Well, that's not the person, that's just the car because the road is like that. And I have to clean up in there. But instead of doing all that, I might as well just unbolt the bracket and put this one on. Save myself the work of cleaning. This is some fucked up shit, man. Pay all this money for this shit. Thinking you're restoring your vehicle, you're restoring America, keeping the place a greater quality of life. You got some people that hate what we're doing here. They hate us. And they jump in the car and go buy their food and their cocaine and their marijuana with the same fucking car they hate. Now, when you're going to be messing around with these suspension bolts, make sure you get these black sockets. Don't use the chrome ones. The chrome socket has a tendency to flex in this area and stretches, and that is going to give you a bad torque on your fastener. So this bolt that holds the abutment bracket, don't take my word for it because I might lie to you, like most of us do. It's a 22 millimeter. So these two bolts here, I would torque those two bolts to approximately 80 to 90 foot-pounds, the same thing as the wheel lugs. You should always consult the factory service manual on your torque specification and bolt pattern when assembling one of our bolts. That's number two. This is our abutment bracket. Let's take a look at our pads. So we can see a little deformation on the end of the pad because the rotor is almost, I think it's about 70,000 miles old, and it's still in good condition. It's nice and smooth. The pads are also still in good condition because we have the lines in them there. I hope you're able to see it. And you can see the thickness. But that's the kind of guy I am. I like to replace my brake pad before all of it get eaten out. I'm not that poor. I don't need to eat everything. Okay, let's get a look at the surface on the inside here. The camera is bugging out again. Anyway, this is nice and smooth. It could go to the shop, the machine shop, and just to get a little scuff a little because the edge has a high and the inside has a high, but those high doesn't really affect the brake pad. The outside, excellent. No ridge on the edge here or in here. The ridge is only here and it's not that bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to replace the abutment bracket with the brake pad that I have. Now I'm trying to fit this fucking brake pad into these little slider brackets they have on the abutment bracket. So this one here with the sensor has to be on the back. And I don't want to push it all the way in. You have to take careful attention when you're doing this shit, man. Because when you're installing this pad, you see these stainless steel clips that are made to be in that position so the pad could continue sliding. Because normally when we did not have these stainless steel clips back in the 80s, we will simply just put a little grease in there where the caliper is butted itself in the bracket so it could maintain its sliding order. But today, since technology has gotten so, I should say, I don't know, we don't have to grease it anymore. Another thing too, when you have that grease there, it becomes a glue for brake dust. See, you see how I'm doing this on my leg? Not good. This should be done on the table. But first, I'm going to install the bolt for the abutment bracket. And I'm going to worry about setting those pads in. Okay, another thing on these bolts, these 17mm bolts for the abutment bracket. You could just call it the brake pad bracket. I saw in the manual they say abutment bracket. They might like using that word abutment because you know it's like homosexual. Abut. You know how they love the butt. So these engineers might be some homosexual too. You understand? Now when you're going to place these bolts in, it's good to place some Loctite on them. So this way they don't come out when you're taking the journey to the moon. Now I shouldn't complain because I deserve what I got. Why I'm saying that is that I try to compare the price on this brake caliper and this bracket with the pad from Nissan, and that was almost just the parts. It's just $1,400, 1,400 US Dunkaroos. Hey partner, so I end up buying these online from Detroit Axle. It was a good deal. I believe it came out to about 250 US for the two calipers, the two abutment bracket, the brake pad, and the rotor. You know what happened to the rotor? You see, when the stuff was shipped to me, the guys at the customs or the shipping company stole the rotor, and I only got the brake pad. So I normally don't do brakes like this with reusing these rotors, but the world is a vampire. Set the world fire. Yeah, I like rock and roll. We got the new bracket in. I want to place. Remember this pad with the sensor. Don't forget it. Don't put it in front. You might have a little problem. You want me to see what happens if you put it in the front? Let's put it in the front and see what happens. Let's slide that in there. It's a lot of sliding and a lot of back and forth movement. This one here without the sensor, you see, I'm not lying to you. Detroit Axle, right? So don't come and sue me, Detroit Axle, saying I'm pretending to use your parts. This is your part. Look, all your numbers are here. I can show you the same thing on the caliper. So let's put this rear one in, like that, beautiful. And let's take off the shiny caliper bolt. Now, let me tell you something about the shiny caliper bolt. If you have your choice, shiny bolt, right? What did I do with the other ones? I must have left them on the bracket. So here we have some bright, shiny bolts, dirty bolts. These are the ones from Nissan. These are the aftermarket. I'm pretty sure they're not from Detroit Axle because Detroit Axle don't make this stuff. We know China make all this stuff. Don't try to fool us. But these bolts here came from Nissan. The original factory OEM. This is what I want to replace there. Not this. This is chrome, moly, I don't know, might not even be. But the black bolts are the stronger bolts to use. So this you could use it for something else. Now let's get the caliper on there, and I want to see where this guy is, if it's an obstruction. Well, hey, what do you know? What do you know? This is so cool. The sensor is on the front pad. So if you can and you have, snake eyes, you could look behind there and over here and see when the rotor is getting scratched by the sensor to go change my brake pad. I have my kids and my wife in the car. It is mandatory safety for them. So you have to do that for the customers, man. If you have good customers, you have to do that for them. And you have to educate them. You have to tell them, say, sir, now that I've completed your brake pad, when you see a noise coming from the front wheel and you see there's a scratch in the front here, come back to me quickly as you can, okay? And bring your bank account. I mean, not your bank account, like $200, okay? And we're gonna take care of it, because if you let this scrape more into here, it's gonna damage this rotor. This rotor is $500 from Nissan. And then you're gonna have to buy a new set of pad, which is about $80 from Nissan. And then you're gonna have to pay me $200 to do this. You see how much money it's gonna cost you? So save yourself the $500, right? And you could give it to me for Thanksgiving or Christmas, and just buy yourself new pads and put it in there. If we can, you could take the rotor to the machine shop, and he could resurface this rotor so you could so we could reuse it. But we have to check the thickness of the rotor before we can do so. And we have to consult that with the factory service manual. We do not want this rotor to be too thin. If it is so, it will crack and become destroyed, and you will not be able to stop. You're going to find yourself into the guardrail on your head 50 feet down the road. I've been to them scenes. I know what it's like. Accidents? Hey, my father's a New York State fire inspector. On all the scenes he's at, and I'm right behind my pop. Think I want my pop to get hurt? Hell no. So I got the rain coming. I'm gonna have to close down on this side and maybe do a live tomorrow on the other side. You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to torque these two bolts in the back here to 90 foot-pounds of torque. But that's all right. I can still get in there with the torque wrench. Now, when you're going to be tightening this bolt, you need a 17 like this, tang onto that. Then you need a 14 to tighten that bolt in the back. When you finish tightening it, you just use the box end. There's an art in everything, my friend. There's an art in the tool, an art in assembling. Everything there's an art. So now we have a pin lock there. This right here, I give it about 20 foot-pounds. When you tighten that, what happened? The wrench gets stuck in there. Because the guy who machined this nut to hold this wrench, don't let me explain it. Or maybe the guy who made the wrench should have made the wrench thinner. Who should we fight between? The guy who made the wrench or the guy who made the slider thing? You can't get the wrench out, because when you tighten the bolt, clamp the wrench in that position. So I have to slack the bolt. You guys think this is fun? Get the slider bolt out, take my tough finger and hold where that 17 was holding. Good, now that's locked. And I could do the same thing there. Same thing on the bottom. I just want to show you with the tools, because that's the right way. But sometimes you just got to get your fingers in there. Just hold that there. And now we lock that in position. Let's get to tightening them two bolts in the back. So you see on your tool here, on your torque wrench, you have a meter here that you're going to be able to turn this down and crank this up to around 90 foot-pounds. So you see the 90 is right above there. Can you see it? I hope you can. And then the 0 is in the center. Now we lock the bottom. Place our rungs in.
I should say socket.
And once you hear that click, that's a sign that you have reached 90 foot-pounds. Sweet. We're not finished with our brake work because we have to do the other side. It goes off on this side. What you should always know is to drive the vehicle after completing a brake job. I don't care what. Step on the brake pedal like 5 to 6 times, just in and out, 5 to 6 times, right? Once you've done that, then you can start the vehicle, step on the brake, put it in drive, and if it stays one place, you're good to go. If the vehicle continue rolling, just slip that shifter into neutral and apply the emergency brakes. Or my friend, I'm gonna tell you, you gotta jump out the car and grab a block and throw it behind the wheel or do something. But what I need you to understand is when you move the hydraulic system in the brakes, you have to pressurize it back before you could start driving or using the brakes. So that's why I'm telling you, you have to pump the brakes up 5 to 6 times and then continue doing what you gotta do. Now, you have seen what the brake master cylinder looks like before. This is what it looks like now. You'll be able to go on the front of the video. See where it's at? It's right up there. So it's almost at the max point. When I push this caliper back, most likely this fluid will come to the top here, exactly onto the top. And then I will have to take out that fluid and bring it back down to maximum. So next time when the brake pad wore out, I will be able to tell that it's at its minimum by looking at the brake fluid when it's at its minimum. So minimum brake fluid means minimum brake pad. Maximum brake fluid means maximum brake pad. Now you might have maximum brake fluid and minimum brake pad because the guy at the service station simply filled the cylinder up and the pad was never changed. That's a plane. It's spying on me. And they see you're too smart, intelligent, and you're doing stuff. They watch you like they think you're building a bomb or something, like you want to blow up a country. I don't know anybody who owns country. So you got some sick people, man. You know, that's why I don't do this as a trade. And you might say, ha ha ha, look at him. He's calling himself some professional and he's in the dirt. He's working in the dirt and he's a professional. I went to America and the shop in America is cleaner than the toilet. And he's calling himself a professional working in the dirt. Finish here. Let me straighten this wheel. Okay, when you're going to be doing that, when you're going to be straightening the wheel without the engine running, that's what's going to happen. See your power steering fluid? It's going to overflow. And it's not overflowed in there, you know. It's just how the system are. There's nothing wrong with the power steering pump. It's just, I'm trying to show you. So if that is to happen to you, you don't think that, oh my power steering is bad now. Steve told me to turn the wheel without the engine running and it messed up my power steering pump. Boss, you don't think that YouTube mechanic is an idiot since he told me to do that? see another thing too. I'm not making videos for the money. Doing YouTube video way back in 2006, where there was no marketing, no advertising, and we didn't give a damn about views and thumbs up. Just love making videos. Cause get what? The girls are all with the dope ass anymore. I go to the club. So what I'm doing now, I'm jacking the vehicle up, taking it off the jack stand, and put the wheel back on. Before I do that, the rain is coming, so we're gonna have to kill this live right now. I want to check these ball joints because when I'm driving this vehicle, it's like, I don't know, it's wobbling. You know, it feels wobbly. So anyway, I just wanted to show you that part. I could have shown you more. I was hoping to do a longer video. We're 1 hour 6 minutes, I believe. What time is it now? Well, thank you for watching the video, guys. Always appreciate when you come and watch my live. See you again. The rain is coming.